If you use San Francisco, San Francisco city in Jalisco, San Francisco made in USA.
San Francisco is known for its organized crime. All the famous charts are from there. In particular, in fact, little is known about organized crime, and what's known is often myths or omissions from former participants. That's what organized crime is. They keep their mouths shut and don't say what they should not say, of course. The most famous are the tongues. The tongue is perfectly legal organizations that help refugees with work, housing and other social issues. Tongues are actually calls of the organization within the United States. They are not always part of the traders. Perhaps only a few high-ranking members of the organization may be trades, but not always. In San Francisco itself, the disco-style city follows zero mission. Relatively harmless, but incredibly annoying. Someone Zero even had a light machine gun, usually mounted on helicopters, so this guy isn't just a nerd. If you win the nerd battle, on the other side you can earn a total 15 grand and 5 grand daily profit, and this in 1992. Remember? Back then the dollar was about half as valuable as it's now. These nerds are making some serious money.
And I want you to remember that 50 grand that you get from one day from zero shop, it would be not 50 grand today, because it would was I suppose x5 valuable than today, or maybe more, maybe x10 or x15 or x20, because dollar with inflation become more cheaper in from 10 to 30% in 1 year, because not all my so-called money, this colored paper that press in Washington making this colored paper, not all in US country. Some of these sent to Africa, to Asia, to Europe, to other countries in Latin America. So not all dollars used in the United States, just part of all of them. So with inflation from 10 to 30% with hard percent, 50 grand in 92 year, the much more valuable than today. So Zero may be nerd, but fucking rich nerd. Really rich nerd.
She just put the balance car in red country, heading to San Fierro to pick up drugs, and invites CG to follow them to find more information. Carl meets Caesar, and they to head to Angel Pain, where the car was headed. There, they take photos of Ryder and some guys. The next stop is to find out what kind of organization this and what it represents. Carl meets Caesar, and with him in his garage, we explain to Carl that the people he photographed are members of Loco Syndicate, a drug trafficking organization in San Fierro. Carl decided to meet which one of the Loco Syndicate members, Pimp JZB, who can be found in club in Battery Point. This is to gain the trust and gather more information. Carl meets Caesar, and with him in his garage, we explain to Carl that the people he photographed are members of Loco Syndicate, a drug trafficking organization in San Fierro. Carl decided to meet which one of the Loco Syndicate members, Pimp JZB, who can be found in club in Battery Point. This is to gain the trust and gather more information. You can see in GTA San Andreas, Rockstars didn't add bikers as full some kind of fraction like triads or maybe tongues like Uzim had with Ramfali. It's not surprising, understand why they didn't. When I'm creating content, just so you understand, I usually have 2 or 3 videos sitting in a half-finished state. They are not fully edited yet. I also have 1 series with the entire script already written, plus concept for 2 more series. Serials. I just haven't had the chance to make them yet, even though you're perfectly doable because the scripts are already there. I have plenty of ideas, but not all of them end up becoming reality. At the end of the day, it's not enough to have an idea, you also have to actually make it and show people, not finish the result. So it's not surprising in Rockstar Games didn't need bikers. Bikers in GTA San Andreas, of course, exist by nominal, but let me talk about real-life bikers, who unfortunately are not really represented in GTA San Andreas. Difficult to describe in simple terms. One of the main things you can notice is that they are often organized along racial lines. There are black clubs, Latino clubs, only white clubs. It's rare to see a truly international group. In that sense, they don't really align with any kind of communist or fully integrated structure. To get into those bikers groups, you usually have to go through a long prospecting period, often 5 years or more. During that time, you are expected to prove yourself, and that often involved being involved into criminal, of course, activity for some fraud. This is particularly true for so-called 1%ers bikers. There are many different labels of bikers not represented on GTA San Andreas, unfortunately. 1%ers, 3%ers, 99%ers, 11%ers, but 1%ers are the ones who position themselves as the most hardcore outlaw bikers. The term 1% originally comes from a statement by a motorcyclization association that 99% of motorcyclists are law-abiding citizens and only 1% are criminals. Some outlaw motorcycle clubs adopt that label for themselves and build an identity around being outside the law. Outlaw in this context means outside the law of the state. I don't correctly have access to real bikers communities to conduct interviews. My English also not strong enough yet, like America great again with Trump pinning. By the way, realistically, it would require funding and production resources. Otherwise, I would genuinely love to travel into different bikers and publish those conversations. So if this idea is interesting, feel free to leave feedback. If there is not enough interest, it could even become a full interview project, but to be honest, it's a pretty expensive undertaking. By my estimates, I need around 100 grand. And you know, in the United States, as I knew, $500,000 US, it's not enough to make some kind of IT company. It's for 3 full months and then end. So maybe it's could be more higher. Just to travel and conduct at least 20 proper interviews with different people, and ideally you'd also need a fairly large audience so participants feel that their time and stories are actually meaningful and not wasted. Motorcycle gangs that are not represented in GTA San Andreas, at least for GTA San Andreas, also known as bikers, become widespread after the Vietnam War when large numbers of veterans returned home. Naturally, some of the people who had been recruited into the military already had criminal backgrounds, and many of them came back the same way they left. By the time, it was already becoming clear that the government was struggling to find enough men willing to fight in a war on the other side of the wall. Throughout history, this has often led to armies recruiting almost anyone they could get through detention, coercion, or by giving prisoners the options of military service instead of severing their sentences. So, prisoners, in this case veterans who had fought for the United States and Vietnam, returned home and decided to start a new chapter of their life. And, like in Gaul, they stayed bikers. With the end of the Vietnam War, veterans who returned to the United States will often land without money. In accordance to some account, they felt abandoned by the government. I don't know how accurate it is, but the result was that some of them started thinking about what to do next. Naturally, they already have military experience in the US, in a country where weapons are widely available. So the question becomes, what do I do in this situation? According to this narrative, some turn to robbery and become bikers. Outlaw bikers. At that time, LA David's motorcycles were relatively cheap supplies. Military or government-related equipment was something sold off for very little money, like $1. As far as I know, there was even cases that Harley Davidson could be sold for at least $1. So veteran forms motorcycle groups, and according to these accounts, some of them started robbing local communities. Since there were no cameras back then, it was much easier to get away with it. You could ride in a bike, commit a robbery and leave quickly. If needed, you could disappear through side streets. In urban city especially you can. Motorcycles made it very easy to escape. At that time, the US didn't yet have the kind of real-time surveillance infrastructure it has today. So catching criminals in the act was much harder in this time. In that sense, using motorcycles for quick hit and run crimes was in a way a very effective method for that era bikers. Later in the mission, T-Bone resides! A call from Mike Turner, who says he's in a danger and needs help. Turner is inside a stolen van carrying drugs in car, and T-Bone must find him. Carl and T-Bone rush to the car and begin searching for Mike, which they have 5 minutes to complete this. Mike remains his context contract. Over the phone, Mike reports hearing signals that the sound of heavy machinery. Assuming the van into a construction site, Carl speeds to the Doherty construction site. After a while, Mike reports hearing the sound of truck backing up. Carl and T-Bone assume it's East Basin docks. Carl changes car course to the docks. A little later, T-Bone reports that Mike's hearing gunfire. It sounds like a shootout with security guards, since the Bay area is lightly guarded by the heavy security in the airport. After 9/11, but for this late, Carl directed the car there. The hunch proved correct. The Eiffel gates are flung open. The guards are dead. From this point on, this indication to the time a signal strange meta appears on the screen, which Carl uses to locate the van within the airport. The van once found is escorted through the airport by 2 bikers onto freeway. After the bikers and found gun and boys are eliminated, the T-Bone flees Torino. Mike convincingly once the van is blown up, the trio must escape the airport. It's actually a shitty mission. It's unclear why they're taking the kidnapped Mike to the airport. Incidentally, perhaps the idea was to ostensibly kidnap Mike, just disappears from G's organization radar and allowing him move on the next stage of his profession. So, kidnapping that fakes one. Mike's real profession, well, for this in the future. Next mission. Jizzy calls Carl and tells him, in a suspiciously friendly tone, to go to the car at a humid gas station in East Basin. He also says that T-Bone Mendes is waiting for him there. Carl arrives at the car and finds it empty. As he gets in, T-Bone appears in the back seats, threatening to kill Carl, as he suspects him to work in somewhere else. Carl says he only worked for money and offered to take the gun away from my head. Mike Turner suddenly prays and asks if they done, they heading to pick up a van containing 2 shipments of drugs located near it. Well, I have only one question. Why you choose place for potential assassination, your legal and dangerous business, near army base? There is from one across road, fighter planes, and almost an aircraft carrier. I don't know, am I right? Translated it. Because in my language I know how to say this word. It shipped this 24 fight planes. Maybe I know it's in my language. Didn't know how it is. Can't take the sniper rifle and flake guns and mount the cinches. He even destroys the Greenwood roadblocks there are by the dining booth. After all 4 obstacles are destroyed, he enters the van safe possible back to the Doherty plant. One day, Carl talks to his son Fierro Reefer gang member about getting the van out of sight, and as the police will arrive soon. I'm pleased that you're thinking about police and using rockets in the streets of San Francisco. I'm very pleased that you're thinking about your future life. Okay, making fights with automatic rifles, bombs, Molotov cocktails in the cities. It's great that you're thinking about police will be arrived soon. Great. I'm pleased that the tension is truly shown. Former gang members, mafioso, criminals, and cops actually see that when it comes to illegal immigrants, Illegal immigrants? What are you talking about? Google Translate. It's not immigrants. Illegal worker, maybe. Future prisoner, maybe, but not illegal immigrants. The level of extreme resentment rises sharply. I explain this by saying that if you have a sufficient level of organized and intelligence, you can create a tribe like the Jews, for example. Wherever you go to the synagogue, and then they welcome you and help you in every way, and then you don't need to engage in illegal activity at all, since you have plenty of other tools to realize your potential. People turn to crime because of poverty, stupidity, childhood trauma, and limited thinking. Maybe 1% crimes have sense, but I'm not sure. It seems to me that organizations that engage in murder, steal and murder, and sell drugs, we rarely have a cool head and keen sense of calculating in the action. Often I think it's purely childhood insecurities that drive them to commit adultery. Adultery. What kind of adultery I'm talking about? I was thinking about, never mind. ChatGPT, Google Translate, they own their own way. They translate it and make it the old scenarios. Maybe they would make video and I would sit and drink cola. Aha, what cola I'm talking about? I didn't drink cola. Yeah. One year, I suppose. Начиная с... Car arrives to woo the bookmaker contract. And one of the guards tells him that his leader is actually blind. He's talking about Woozy. He then goes upstairs, calming, and confirms this by waving his hand in front of Woozy's face. The letter shows no reaction. Woozy tells him that he owns the organization and that he needs to go to a meeting with another gang, wanting to show that we are, as in, we handle everything delicately, no shit or no killing, like these white guidings. Upon arriving, we see the things are not quite so simple. All the Woozy lieutenants have been killed, and we ourselves are in danger. We should probably get out, but they won't let us to leave so easily. To put things in perspective, there were Chinese people in Eastern United States. They were imported as a cheap slave labor, like in 19th century, I suppose. It's 1830, 1850, 1870. And then some came to live there. China became progressive relatively recently, only 2010 year. Until then, it was considered a huge asset to get out of China. Life there was clearly not easy back then, while it was better in the US. Naturally, gangs emerged to protect the interests of the locals, of course. Gang or tongs, if we're talking about east side of United States. They mixed criminal activity with legitimate business. They were Chinese gangs, Vietnamese gangs, and to much less extent Korean and Thai gangs. And we encountered the equivalent in San Fierro. For a long time, locals preferred to turn to fellow believers that who spoke in the same language and same religion for help rather than to Americans. This went on for a very long time. By my statements, until about the 2010s years, when crime changed its appearance, it transformed from brute force into fraud. I'm sure brute force remains, of course, but not in the same form it was before. As I said before, tongs, some of tongs can communicate in business with triads, Chinese mafia. Tongs help immigrants. Tongs have legal business. Tongs help with work, for example. This organization can help with work for their own tribe persons. I don't know how it better to say by English. English might not be language. English might not be little routine. Fran Foley, the leader of Red Canton, triad subgroup. Fran Foley explained that the Vietnam's crime syndicate, the Da Nang Boys, is planning to move to San Fierro. Carl is in task with picking up a car containing a package from the airport. Important points, the subgroup. Not all Tong members are triads, but some Tong members may be triads. Just as not all enforcers, outsiders, or insiders in Italo-American mafias are part of the media. Next, still, the Da Nang Boys are pushing wrongfully, preventing him to return for arms. CJ devises a plan to distract the Da Nang Boys by acting as bait so Ranfali and his lieutenant can safely leave Chinatown. As the Da Nang Boys finally catch Carl Johnson's car. They find out that Grandfather not here. Plan gone wrong, so they leave. And mission completed. By the way, I don't know why they not tried to kill Carl at all. In the end, so they could, and they ran away. I don't know. Carl plays a console game with Woozy, even though Woozy is blind. During the conversation, Woozy. By the way, Woozy actually always winning in console games. Always. Woozy asks Carl, can Carl swing infiltrate the ships? Heavy guarded and Carl needs to get on undetected, as he's defenseless in the water. Woozy can trust anyone from his gang to do this, as they are obviously in the middle of Asia massacre, and it was because of some tongue members is rest or moose. That moose? Not moose. Better to see beavers. That they leaked information about Roundfolly and nearly killed him. Moose, beavers, I don't know how to better to say, let me translate what. Yeah, moo. It's true, moo. Mole. Mole, not mole, mole. New day, new thinking. Much thinking, much suffering. By the way, on the car, basically, was all the destitution. That's how I personally understood this sequence of events. Besides, Woozy is blind. He's not the one to go. Upon arrival at the ship, Carl needs to plant a bug and quietly leave. When Carl visits Woozy again, he is rushing to a meeting. During the conversation, Woozy gets a call from Little Lion. The guys from Da Nang have taken action. They gathered on the ship. They need to fly a helicopter overhead and scout out the situation. Carl says he will handle the problem. During the helicopter fight, a malfunction occurs. He is hit by a missile. The helicopter crashes. Missile? What mean missile? That was rocket hit. Flare gun? I don't know. Rocket launcher! Was hit by rocket launcher. The helicopter crashes into the void and you will need to board a ship and kill all the Vietnamese. Arrive, it turns out there are big wig named Snakehead on board. Holding slaves in the container. You need to free the slaves from Snakehead and kill him. Here you can choose to fight with Vietnamese bigwig, with katanas, or pull out pistols and shoot him like in Indiana Jones movie. It makes no difference. Tampanin Pulatkin in Wisconsin, during the test to eliminate a journalist, was digging into Tampanin this time. And a colleague of the journalist, in business winter. It's transit card and shoot Tampanin Pulatkin right there in the garage and dump the bodies into the river or somehow dispose of them. How Tampanin could influence Sweet's fate is unclear, and Carl wasn't even interested. Maybe Woozy could have helped, just like Carl helped him. He could have helped. By the way, I think the nuance is very well portrayed. As long as you don't screw up, do your job, and don't disappear, you're only friends. But if Carl had been able to complete his text successfully every of the time instead of 100% of success every time, he would not have gotten invited anyway. That's life and justice, right? You only love with 100% success, but the percentage drop and love ever drops like a parabola into a pit of shit. In principle, you can also complete Caesar's car theft mission. They are not part of the story, but they help you set up a car dealership and earn 20,000 grand in game dollars. The business itself brings $8,000 daily. I'm not sure how you can legally sell stolen cars. Perhaps it's possible from companies or individuals, and then after paying the taxes, even if the police come, you can say you didn't know that the car was stolen. It's not your fault. Again, how true this is, I don't know. It's a thief's job, beep beep, and hopefully... What the hell? I wanted to say that it's a thief's job who is stealing beep beeps. What the hell? Beep beep? Like I'm idiot in front of middle of sentence, saying beep beep like idiot. Like crazy. It's nonsense. Google Translate even don't see... Never mind. It's a case of mistaking a critical... What? It's not a case of critical analysis. What the hell wrong with this translating? Trade missions. It turned out the trade benefits from getting rid of the local syndicate. Carl goes to the garage in Doherty and searching material for the pistol sentence. Caesar soon appears and gives Carl his sentence. Uzimu leaves a message stating that the Loco Syndicate is meeting with the badass. Count must kill GZB and take a spawn to find out the meeting is taking place. Count arrives at the Pleasure Domes Club in Battery Point and crashes GZ's spot. After some argument, GZ attempts to escape with the bodyguard, fitting the other guard on a car. Car came them all and leaves the club. GZ tries to escape and chase and shoots, during which Carl kill and take his phone. Sidoji calls Caesar Senate and tells him to head to Piece 69 in the meeting place of the Loco Syndicate and the badass. Carl and Caesar meet on the building opposite Piece 69. Caesar gives Carl a sniper rifle and the need to eliminate the San Fierro Rifa gang members to prevent them from killing all trios. Then T-Bone Mendes arrives with San Fierro Rifa, followed immediately by Ryder with his badass, and Torreno arrives in the helicopter, but Torreno spots the cops on the roof and flies away. Badass and Ryder drop smoke grenades. We need to get a T-Bone and kill him. After this, a cutscene plays showing Carl and Caesar shooting and half-dead T-Bone, after which he falls into the water. Then we see Ryder's flee. Carl must swim after Ryder, then get into the second boat, catch up with him and shoot up this boat. Restore Ryder's explosives, Stella Caesar calls us and releases the dialogue. Only Mike Torino remains to be eliminated following a call from Woozy. Can arrive to the helicopter takeoff site, kill the guards, shoot down the helicopter, finita commedia. Now it's up the little guy. Clean up the mess. Now Johnson regrets killing Lance Wilson, a.k.a. Ryder, but Caesar El Panda consoles him, explaining that Ryder sexually assaulted his sister Kendall. As if Caesar El Panda didn't sexually assault Carl's sister. What? Sexual assault? Assault, it's like killing someone. What the hell wrong with this Google Translate? Harassment, assault. If man doing something with woman is only assault. Yeah, considering the way Carl's sister dresses like war, so everyone would flirt with her. William arrives and reports the drug factory owned by the Loco Syndicate still works. If Carl Johnson destroyed, the Loco Syndicate business will collapse and effectively cease to exist. Using assisting contact with Carl, who informs him that the car with explosives is ready, and heads to the center and reaches the garage with the car. With his assistant warns him the car has a timer allowing car to get the required distance. Upon arriving at the drug factory, two Loco Syndicate thugs will be at the main gate. They must be eliminated. Carl then enters through the main gate, killing the thugs who try to stop him. The other worker inside the building will not harm CJ, except for one arm with a weapon. By the way, I did not understand how much explosion you need, how much dynamite or C4 you need to blow up a building like this. I think it would be more logical if you would bring explosive plus some kind of oil. Carl Johnson must drive the car to the building itself using a ramp located to the left of the main entrance. Then he must drive into the main, park the car, and detonate the bomb planted in the car. He has 45 seconds to exit the building. Carl also confronts the thugs who have just arrived. Once outside, Carl will need to escape the drug factory while eliminating other gangsters. As Carl approaches the main gate, two more gangsterito arrive in the car and the gate closes. This gangsterito must be eliminated again, and then he can get into the car and leave the drug factory. Again, Carl using the ramp in the building to the left of the containers by main gate. 5 more gangsters will arrive. Killing them is optional. To complete the jobs, the mission is complete. He will receive 25 grants from Woozy. Not much actually for this sort kind of risk. There was even a mission with Carl Johnson killed workers for no apparent reason, or at least maimed them because her sister was called war by them. But it's true, she dresses like a war. Instead of addressing the root cause, he ran off like sheep to do what was forced upon him and what didn't benefit him. And by the way, Kendall acting like a war because he's trying to eliminate 10 men. Only boss does this.